Yeah, let us in this. Welcome to the Muslim Street podcast every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, wherever you guys are on the globe, peeling into the Muslim Street. You can also find us across all social media on Facebook at the Muslim Street, as well as the web, themuslimstreet.com, www.themuslimstreet.com. That is a trademark. And it's very essential. I think we trademarked this back in like 2011, and no one's bothered it since. It cost 90%. It was done. Getting some feedback there. In addition, guys, we are produced out of Accra, Ghana, where I hear that it's raining in the dry season. Like cats and dogs today with the Lance Scurv Show. Shout out to Lance. That's the bald head brother from Harlem, New York. Is that right, Harlem? You didn't come from the Bronx. You didn't come from Brooklyn. You didn't come.
Manhattan born, raised in Queens.
You didn't come from Yonkers, New York.
I'm a bona fide New Yorker. I don't front. Trust me.
Harlem, 125th Street. Yeah, I remember my first time to Harlem, and I'll tell you a little about that. We're also joined by Art Mobley, down 423, also a founding member of the National Association of Black Journalists. Yeah, my first time to Harlem, I went there on a football all-star team when I was a little guy, and man, I was just amazed at the culture that was in New York City. This was like the mid-'70s. The second time I went was 1985 when Minister Louis Farrakhan trooped that place. Man, you talk about Madison Square Garden, must have been about 50. The place don't hold but 25,000. And this was October of 1985. Were you there, Lance? Lance,
of course I was.
Well, let me set this up. So we go in there, yes. Islam. And it was just I was there for about 4 or 5 days before, and then a day after. But I got to tell you, what a crock shoot, bro! I was like, the Zionists ran New York City in the mid 1980s. Mayor Koch, that bald head Zionist mayor that you guys have your hair on the side. It went both ways. Him, right? So he puts together on the day that Minister Louis Farrakhan is to give a speech at Madison Square Garden, a march in Manhattan. Manhattan is where Madison Square Garden is, right?
Yeah, 34th Street.
I want to get this right. So he's walking down. He's in the middle of the march, and guess who is clasped on either his right or the left? Yes, you want to know? You don't know, so I'm going to tell you. Sister Betty Shabazz, Malcolm X's wife. I was so disappointed that she would allow these Zionists to play her against Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam because of what happened 20 years before, which is totally understandable. Her being in a position, allowed to be played by Zionists. We got some back spin there. To allow her to be played by the Zionists who hated her husband Malcolm X, literally hated him. Nelson Perlmutter. And the whole Zionist crowd in the 1960s stalked Malcolm X, labeled him an anti-Semite, because of his support for Palestine and attacking Zionism and etc. But anyway, what else stood out to me on that second visit? Because I'm an adult now. I'm in my 20s, and we're in Harlem, and it takes us down to that night at Madison Square Garden. I was on the stage, holding poles and all that kind of stuff. But I've never seen a crowd like that. 25,000 inside Madison Square Garden for a basketball game, and then you got the whole floor was filled. So you got to add another 8,000 to 10,000 there, right? Right, chairs, wall to wall, standing room only, and then the Felt Forum which is, I guess, an offshoot room venue inside the Madison Square Garden, holds another 5,000. Bro, there was at least 10,000 people on the outside who couldn't even get in. I saw one lady. You got the New York police surrounding the place. I mean, they out there in full force. The blue jocks. I saw one sister. You got the FOI, trying to hold this crowd back. And this is like at least 2 hours before the event starts. 2 hours, man. It was like a Michael Jackson concert. I've never been to a Michael Jackson concert. I just don't even imagine. Well, a whole row of brothers trying to keep this crowd back 2 hours before. And the sister, she must have been, in her 30s or something like that. She had a toddler underneath her arms like a football. And she's like, I'm getting in here, whether y'all in the way or not. The New York police and the Fruit of Islam couldn't stop her, man. She was making moves like Gail Sayers trying to get in, and she got in. I gave it to her. She got behind the line, man. I was like, hey, I ain't stopping this sister, man. Apparently, she really wanted to be inside. But that is my visit to your Harlem, New York, back in 1985. I don't know if Dr. White, I'm sure he was there. This was a historic event. But you know what? Inside, what I remember about that speech was the array of Black people in Harlem and excuse me, in New York City that supported the Muslims. It was just amazing. Coming from New York coming from Chicago, a little harder city, in relationship to Muslims, but New York City, man. Wow, I was very impressed with that. So we're joined by Dr. Viper White, author of Blacklisted, The Price for Speaking the Truth, and also a candidate for congressman coming up here in May, which will be the primary out of Orlando. Look him up, cast a vote, cast 2 votes, 3 votes, 4 votes, tell other people. I'm from Chicago. You vote. The dead people vote in Chicago, boy. They need to get somebody over the line.
Sure.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Brother Malik, for that, because right now we need you more than ever. There's a couple of things that has occurred since our last meeting of last week. This Thursday, I had to address an organization. It's about 600 people were in the audience. The Zionists and the racists and some of their Black stooges put out a flyer citing me as a Muslim extremist, a person who wants to destroy Israel, and a person who is just a danger to American society and the world society at large, Dr. White, which they framed me, along with my whole team. And with that, all my contracts were canceled, bank accounts canceled, everything. And this is how they function. They utilize their power, their economic power, their political power to subdue you. Now, if we're talking about help and developing a unified front, this time more than ever, I need your support. We're not talking, this is not rhetoric, this is not polemics, this is real talk. I need your support to help us, all right, to carry on. They can't beat us ideologically, and they can't beat us in an argument. But what they can do is destroy us economically, and by doing that, they destroy my voice.
This is what this is what Chairman Fred Hampton.
That's right.
Illinois chapter of the Party when he said politics is war without bloodshed.
That's right. It is, and that's why we have lands. If you can put across there Zelle, you know the number, you know how to get our books, brothers and sisters. You need to pass this on throughout the country. Just don't say, "Oh, he was a good brother, and I believed in him." I'm alive now. I need your help now, because this is not a plaything. This is, like Brother Malik stated, this is war. And that is exactly what is taking place. Thank you, brother, for allowing me to say these things. And thank you, Brother Mobley. as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, absolutely. And I like to say on that matter, hopefully, and optimistically, we'll be on the other side of the war machine, where we'll be able to dox those anti-black, anti-African, anti-Muslim, anti-Palestinian individuals and bring the pain to them, not only personally as you're suffering it with being doxxed on these situations, but also collectively. That's our struggle. Our struggle is to move to a position of power. I maintain art, Mobley, that as we look at the European slave trade, 1492 in particular being a very historical year, Dr. White, where there were multiple events going on that led to the ease of the path for the Portuguese, who were the first ones to enslave us, to come down from Southern Europe into North Africa, and then eventually in West Africa, and also then enslave us, right? So they had, and we'll talk about that on some of the program, but a very fascinating study of history where there's numerous things that are going on, and even if one of those things didn't happen, the European slave trade wouldn't have happened. The ease of, again, the Southern Europeans, particularly the Portuguese, coming down and enslaving. But I say, in relation to this whole paradigm shift of the thinking that we have to have as oppressed people, as African people, is that I don't look at them as, oh, they came down and, look at them, they ought to be ashamed of themselves, that they put us in chains and they took us across the ocean on this ride for 6 weeks in the holds of the ship and made us work for 310 years and then picked on us nearly 100 years of Jim Crow. I take the position of the paradigm shift. It's as simple as this. The Europeans won that war, we will win the next one. And it changes the whole thing, because if we don't have tactics of war, then we're sitting ducks. We're sitting ducks with slavery, and we're sitting ducks with what has happened to Dr. White being doxxed by the enemies of the struggle. Art, what do you say about that before we move on to the topic for today?
Well, I don't have a lot to say about, you guys have said all that's needed to be said. What I am looking forward to is we are looking at Africa being a dominant force in the future, and 1 in 4 people on the planet will be African by 2050. So that strikes terror in the hearts of those who fear that their recessive genetic posture is threatened, when in fact, I think their fears are unfounded. I think that the future looks bright, and I think that Africa and Africans and Pan-Africans have to step into a more positive position, because you're in a position of power.
Yeah,
you have the power.
Yeah, and I've read Art on that point that you mentioned, the population on the African continent. That number is even higher than 1 in 4. 1 in 4 puts us at 25% of the population. Mm-hmm. I've seen that number by 2050 by their students of demography at 40% of the world's population, mm-hmm. which means if 40% of the world population and is the youngest of all continents, what it means is the same thing that we saw here domestically and historically since 1950 with what is called the baby boomers. Mm-hmm. The whole economic shift, emerging markets, all the stability, currencies, everything's going to exist on the African continent. It will be the play.
The workers, the young people with the minds to innovate, it's going to be Africa. Africa is the only continent in the world right now. I mean, the average age in Africa is 19. So, we're really looking at a future where Africa is going to be dominant. And I think that's really driving a lot of the fear that people have.
Well, the Europeans, and the Europeans, strategically, and when I say Europeans, I also mean the Americans. Mm-hmm. they have played themselves to the negative of the Africans because they decided that they wanted to have these single child, maybe another, 2-child households with Africans,
Well, they should be excited about Dr. White and his candidacy, and coming into the political structure in this country, bringing that voice, bringing that point of view and that intelligence into the system. That's what they need. But instead, they want to run counter and run in fear. But I think it's important for us not to play to those fears, and that we should be very optimistic about where we are in this point in history. And we need to talk about controls. We need to talk about structure. We need to talk about organization. We need to talk about what we are going to do, how we're going to run the world, as opposed to how they have been and are running the world.
I'm working on a major paper before I move this discussion over to Dr. White and the topic at hand on innovation. And when I talk about innovation, I'm not talking about creating a stoplight or the light bulb. No. African people being the next the controllers and the fathers and the mothers, if you will, of the next innovation. We've had innovations that created the Industrial Revolution, right? Took the West, particularly America, from the agricultural revolution, agrarian revolution, into the Industrial Revolution at the beginning of the 19th century, in the Southern economies with the invention or the innovation of the cotton gin. Totally impacted the next 40 years of slavery and how that was shaped the Southern economies, and then also how that shaped the supporting of the nation state, the concept of the European nation state, which flourished. Right now, the next innovation from the Industrial Revolution into the technological revolution. We didn't own that innovation. The next innovation, Art, Dr. White, we will have to own it if we are going to turn the caste system upside down. And right now, as Dr. Khaled used to say, wherever that he traveled in the world, and we saw the black-white dynamic. White people were on top, black people were on the bottom. In order for us to turn that upside down, topsy-turvy, we're going to have to own the next innovation of the revolution, right? And the world revolution, right? And I maintain that there will be no egalitarian framework coming out until we level set. And for those who didn't understand what I just said, those who are on top will have to take their place on the bottom until there's a level set. And that could take a couple, 300 years. Dr. White, we're talking today about Venezuela, Iran, the Trump and Netanyahu love fest with overthrowing countries, invading countries, taking their resources, and excellent topic that came up from our colleague Art Mobley. You want to jump on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You want to go, Art?
Go ahead, Dr. White.
Hello?
Yeah,
go ahead.
All right. The topic is very, very fitting. Brothers, give me a second. I'm in a hall, and I'm going to go to a quieter place because I just started hearing some talking. Do you mind?
Okay, no problem.
And Art, you take it out when I come in.
Yeah, so Art, you came up with a great topic, and before you jump into it, one thing I'd be remiss if I didn't mention. I woke up this morning and I said I was feeling like Medgar Evers. Y'all see that? You see that?
Okay, that's nice.
And let me tell you a little bit about the history about Malik Aziz and Medgar Evers. Right. So the first school I went to, I'm 4.5 years old. I'm in Head Start. Name of the school, just built a year before, is called Medgar Evers. 1963 is when June of 1963, Medgar Evers was assassinated down in Jackson, Mississippi. He was head of the NAACP, much more militant than that organization could even handle, right? But just to let you know that whatever I wear, you should check into what I'm wearing because it always has a message. Mega Evers, a serious freedom fighter for Black people here and throughout the world. All right, jump right on the topic.
All right, Mr. Walking Billboard, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about Nigeria, Venezuela, and Iran. And the reason the Trump administration or Donald Trump or whomever is so vehemently opposed to these particular countries and wanting to intervene in the affairs of these countries at this point. And those are, if you just look at them on the surface, Nigeria, Venezuela, and Iran, you see three major oil states. And that should give you some sign as to where this is going. This is about oil, definitely is about oil. And we are in the midst of a global war to control the economic flows of not only oil, because it is the means of commerce, it fuels essentially the world that we live in right now and the technology that we support right now on the planet, but it's also, sorry about that noisy phone. That's you notice how older people use the old school rings. Yeah. You gotta watch us. You know, you know if you hear that ring, somebody is over 50. You know, at least. Yeah. But yeah, oil fuels everything that we do, and these three countries are the epitome of that. So this is not by coincidence, it's not by accident that there's an assault on these three countries simultaneously. The U.S. has long dominated the world's economy because it perpetuates what's called the petrodollar. And the petrodollar is just a means of producing a currency based on oil. And it goes back to Nixon. Nixon flipped us from the gold standard to essentially a paper dollar standard. And that paper dollar standard just proliferated from there. Money has been mass produced out of the Treasury of the US and flooding the international markets because they said that the only way you can purchase oil is to use US dollars. So thus became the petrodollar. Petrodollar is how the US has gotten sanctioned to produce and overproduce its currency compared to the rest of the world's currencies. So that being established, you can see why it is strategically necessary from the standpoint of the small minds that are in Washington and London and Israel, for that matter. They want to control the flow of oil because the flow of oil props up the dollar. In the meantime, the BRICS countries have come out with a currency called a unit, and the unit is backed by gold. The unit is also backed by a basket of currencies that includes countries like Brazil, China, also India, Russia. Those are very strong, stable economies, and they are presenting a formidable challenge to the US dollar. And at the same time, there have been countries like Saudi Arabia, India, Brazil, who have just recently said, to hell with the petrodollar, to hell with the US dollar. We are going to trade for fuel, and we're going to do that in these national currencies. So they're giving value to their own currencies, and that's diminishing the dollar. So that sent the US into panic mode. It sent Donald Trump into flip your lid, hair on fire mode. And that's why he is so adamantly trying to recover this position. He said it was more threatening than a nuclear bomb. And I'm sure that there were economists behind him who were saying the same thing. So that's the reason.
Yeah.
So I agree with Brother Art 100%. And I can't really add any more to it because he did a very thorough job. I think our eyes should be now on Iran, because one of the things that the United States is doing, they're doing the same old playbook they have been using for 70 years, and that is utilizing the CIA, NGOs to cause bedlam in those countries. Right now, there is a so-called uprising in Iran. We have found already that American operatives are already there through the CIA, paying people off to cause people. Then they create a media lie that 12,000 people have been killed. That has not been proven by no international body. It's absolutely false. You see, so what has happened is that now the United States is doing what they did in Iraq, in Iran, in Ghana, several other countries, and that is cause an uprising, take down the government, and put in their stooges. But the problem here is that now the world body has seen the American playbook. It's predictable. So already Russia has already sent more ammunition and military hardware to Iran. And what has Trump did? Trump said a couple of days ago, well, it looks like the killings have subsided. It's not as bad. No, what it is that Russia, along with the world, has said, listen, we're tired of the foolishness of America, and if we have to fight, we will fight. If it means that we have to die or you have to die, that's what it's going to be. So therefore, Trump is pulling back. However, it doesn't mean that he has stopped his bedlam, because he's just going to go to another country. Besides oil, which Brother Arthur stated, we're looking at lithium, we're looking at gold, we're looking at silver, we're looking at iron ore, we're looking at every mineral source that the United States and Europe needs, not only to survive, but to flourish and to stay in power. And now the third world, or the global south, has all of those things, and they're not giving it up. Along with this, which is very important, going to the global south, their young people are developing. Right now in countries like Nigeria and several other countries, they're producing their own cars, their own automobiles. They're producing their own planes, their own computer systems. Things are changing. This is not the global south of 2000. It's not even the global south of 2010. This is a new world that the United States is having a hard time dealing with, and the only way they're going to try to stay in power, they're going to use corruption, sanctioning, and lastly, military hardware to get what they want. But it's not going to happen today.
Art, Art, let me jump in with a question for you, kind of redirect the conversation. For the black and white goobers that out there who don't read, this latest book I'm reading is called Hyperspace. There's like somebody said, hey man, you better get out of this country. I was like, how about let's get out of this dimension? so Art, for people out there who kind of only understand the surface, when you talk about taking somebody's oil, United States took Venezuela's oil. They're going to take that. They're going to take Greenland, the resources there. They're going to take Iran's oil. This is not for the goober. He or she says, the more oil that the United States takes, the lower the oil price is going to be, knowing that in order for this whole capitalist mechanism to function properly, oil needs to be sitting somewhere around $75, $80 a barrel, no higher than that. Right now, it's around high 50s, right? So they think it's going to go down to 1950 prices. That is not what's going to happen here. So this is a lot more nuanced. Let's go back to 1979. Where the United States had propped up since 1953 in the overthrow of Premier Mohammed Mossadegh in Iran, the Shah of Iran. The Shah was overthrown in 1979. Ayatollah Khomeini led Islamic Revolution, and the strategic effect on the United States and their cap in that area was what? It was the Strait of Hormuz. The trade routes, right? So this is again away from this surface understanding. Okay, the more oil grab that white people do, the lower the white countries, including America, because it is a white country, by the way, oil is going to go down. So our kind of expand and what Dr. White was talking about, these other mineral resources, they want it all, and also these trade routes, and particularly that fight over the Strait of Hormuz, which is the exact thing they're going to revisit when the United States attacks Iran by the end of the month.
Well, of course, Donald Trump just instituted a round of very severe tariffs, and that caused spikes in pricing across the boards. Inflation, hyperinflation is coming to a market near you, and the gas pump as well. It is, they're just trying to hold the price down to $5 a gallon, and which is absolutely strangling and killing people at the lower end of the spectrum in terms of wages. But if you remember when Gaddafi's Libya was in full effect, what he did for the Libyan people with his own oil reserves resulted in them paying 17 cents a liter for gasoline in Libya. Now, that wasn't that long ago, we go back to 2011. But when you think about proportionally the price difference and just all things being equal, what that means, it would, maybe in today's prices, that might be $1, but it is possible to maintain and keep oil prices down and pump prices down, but they're not going to do it. They are operating in an entirely capitalistic mode, and they are going to wring the public out for every dollar and every dime that they can get. And that's not going to change regardless of what happens. But they do try to present that idea that, we're doing all of this so we can keep your prices down. We can keep your oil down. We can keep your rent down, and people are buying it. People in this country are terrified. And again, that gets back to the fear mongering that these leadership class, this billionaire class has been promoting and continues to recycle. So people need to understand they don't need to buy it, and they shouldn't. Go ahead, brother.
They have fooled the American people into believing in this false sense of nationalism, going back to the Monroe Doctrine. I mean, you have a number of not just whites, but Black Americans and several others who have this feeling and this thought that, yes, we're big, bad America. We should control everything in North America, Central America, and South America. All of this is ours. And they forgot to realize that the Monroe Doctrine is really dead. How did it die? Remember back in the 1980s, they had the Falkland Wars, the war between Argentina and Great Britain over the Falkland Islands. And Argentina said to the United States, they said, listen, you follow the concept of the Monroe Doctrine. And that Monroe Doctrine was to keep out imperialists from other parts of the world into our hemisphere. And the United States told Argentina, forget about it, because Great Britain is our friend, and we're supporting that. And remember, Great Britain beat Argentina over the Falkland Islands. So therefore, at that time, the whole concept of the Monroe Doctrine was completely off. But they have resurfaced it and remanufactured it into believing that we are following the old Monroe Doctrine of the 1830s. We have to have control, and we are America. We're special, and we must control. And all of that concept is not only imperialist, but it's racist.
Yeah, well, the Monroe Doctrine is a specious argument for them to pull up in the first place. Like you said, from the 30s, the 1830s at that, Monroe was the fourth president of the U.S.?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at really ancient history and an ancient doctrine that didn't make any sense then and doesn't make any sense now. The U.S. does not have priority over all of the people who are Mexico and south of there into South America, all of the countries that they don't have dominance in this country over the indigenous people in this country. So it's ridiculous, and it is coming to a head because people are calling them on this, and they're calling them on this chosen people wherever they are around the world, manifest destiny, white supremacy. All of
Sure.
these things have to be retired. They have to be set aside, and people need to really start to think beyond the fear. I know people are afraid. You know, there's some crazy things going on and happening to people short term here, but you know, we've never been a people that shrunk from challenge, and we definitely don't and have never, despite what people think. I mean, Black people have resisted, African people have resisted all the way through. You don't hear about the resistance because we don't run the newscast. We don't run the narrative. We have to be victims of what other people say. We have to read about it. But it doesn't mean that it's not happening, and it doesn't mean that we don't have visceral responses to the nonsense. So we do have time on our side. We do have the numbers on our side. All we have to do is just calm these people down, keep them from doing something foolish like starting a nuclear war, which they're not going to do.
The problem,
I told you last week that they were not going to attack Iran, and they didn't, and they're not. You know, but there's a reason for that. Go ahead.
I mean, the problem is that it's not just a one man Trump, the personality. Don't get caught up in the personalities. It's a whole machine. It's a whole dark state. It's a whole mechanism that's driving this thing. Right now, the country is on the verge of 5 major wars. All right, 5 major wars. And we have seen Brazil, they sent their troops to their borders with Venezuela. We have seen Mexico send their troops to their northern border with the United States. We're seeing now that NATO is beginning to talk about sending troops to Greenland. We see that even countries in Ghana and Burkina Faso and so forth are beginning to mobilize their troops. They're all expecting a conflict from Washington. So what's going to take place is that we have to highlight what's going to take place and the dangers that we're in, because we're on the verge of a 3rd World War. And with African Americans, people don't realize that over 60% of the military is made up of African Americans. That's phenomenal. And the sad thing about that is that most brothers who have something has gotten it because they were part of the military. They deliberately don't have opportunities in the public sector for African American men. So therefore, they go into the military, they think they can accomplish something there, and they go off and fight, and they end up being cannon fire for an establishment that really don't give a damn about them.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't have no leaders that's talking about this. Al Sharpton, Ben Crumb, none of them have enough testicles to speak the truth on this issue.
So the word for the day, Lance Scurv, is protracted. Protracted. You can fill the rest up. Protracted struggles, and there's a protracted policy that comes from the United States government and the West in terms of oppression that also has us to respond to that as revolutionary freedom fighters. And I say that to say that from administration to administration to administration, they pass a baton with the same. For example, Venezuela, Hugo Chavez is in charge, and as a result, in 2006, George W. Bush, he launches sanctions against Venezuela. The same playbook Obama in 2015 leveled up those sanctions. In 2019, the current president during his first term, President Trump, even went higher and higher with putting sanctions on Venezuela, choking the resources from that country in order for them to prosper and defeat them. Okay, now I say that to say that people, particularly out in the audience, who think that there's a difference between this party or that party, this president or that president, I just gave you a working example of how their policies are the same toward the exact same people. George Bush,
absolutely.
Barack Obama, same as President Trump. So don't get caught up in this little vote for me and I'm going to set you free mentality to think that if you had another president that was in the White House, that Venezuela wouldn't be going down. Obama tried to make it go down in 2015. Bush tried to make it go down in 2016 when they literally tried to assassinate Hugo Chavez. Anyway, Dr. White, on that turn, as you are running for Congress, men, for the state of Florida, representing the district in Orlando, can you address what would you do different to kind of break this whole cycle of it's just the same old stuff?
Well, first of all, as a congressman, you need to bring it on the floor and tell the truth as to what is taking place and how much money is being spent on these useless conflicts, and the devastation. What's happening? Really?
Look like Dr. White got blacklisted right in mid
You got froze up there for a second.
froze up.
You froze up, yeah.
You're talking about two wings of the same bird when you're talking about the Republicans and the Democrats, And you've got this party that has been taken over by the reactionary wing of those two parties, and it's called the white supremacist party. The liberals essentially are pushed out, and they don't know what to do essentially at this point. And they're running around trying to find some space and some ground to even make an argument. And they can't, because their arguments are weak, and they don't really have any fortitude. They don't have the fortitude to make an argument.
Hello?
So I would be happy to hear Dr. White's take on what would be what he brings differently to this two-party system that they flash in America. There shouldn't be two parties; it should be multi-party.
Well, one of the first things as a congressman, a person has to bring it to the floor, and that is, listen, the sanctioning that we have done to other countries has worked against the United States. It has created more enemies than not. It has not stopped anything. We have sanctioned Cuba for almost 65 years. And now Cuba is one of the best educational systems, one of the best medical systems, and has a military that hasn't been defeated when they go overseas. All right? It hasn't worked. Sanctioning, even though it has caused problems in Venezuela, they still continue. It hasn't worked against North Korea. It hasn't worked against Iran. It did not work against Libya. So we have to let the people know that this is folly of behavior. It's best to have a good neighbor's policy, not like the one of the past. Speak softly and carry a big stick, but speak in a civil manner and an understanding that we're.
Yeah, he's been froze there. Art, in the vein of Dr. White talking about.
Hello?
Yeah, you keep going in and out, Dr. White.
All right, then. Listen, Art, you carry on, because I think somebody is breaking into my system here.
Well, just find a way to find a place that's quiet, and we can continue.
Okay, all right. Yeah. And so, I mean, one of the things that I would do is that we have a number of nationals coming in from other countries who really want to undermine their own country. All right. So one of the things I would do, I said, if you come into the country, I would ask, what is your stand with your country, with that leadership? And I would put them in a separate, have a separate regiment for them, a military regiment. And if there's some action that you want to do against your own country, guess what? You're going to go. You're going to do it. Not the Americans. You see? And I bet you, if you have that type of policy, a lot of this stuff, outside intervention, will cease, because these high elite people who will come in from Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, and so forth, they don't put themselves on the line. They're there to grab the power and the money. I would do something like that. Thirdly, I will put a cap on military spending. I mean, it is sad that every time you turn around, the president or the Congress gives up another $1 trillion. That is bankrupting the American political system. These things are not being said. Or senatorial leaders don't have the damn balls to stand up and speak the right thing. That's just things on the cup that I would do.
You're still cutting in and out, brother. So
I'm sorry.
find another physical spot so that maybe
All right.
signal be a little better, and then dial back in.
Yeah, I think one of his main points that he made earlier in his discussion on this was the involvement of Blacks, Africans in the United States military service, because they just don't have or didn't have and don't have opportunities and other resources. This has always been one of the biggest recruiting grounds, all the way going back to World War One in the United States.
Yeah, the military, the whole subject of the military is just out of proportion. This country spends more money than all the rest of the world combined on military, and it does it because it wants to be the biggest, the baddest, and the bulliest military out there, so that it can do things like go down to Venezuela and kidnap the president, pay off all of the top officials in the country, dump a lot of money on people with bribes so that they can have access to get into Venezuela. We asked a couple of weeks ago, how did that happen? How did it occur? How you go into a country and just snatch the president and first lady in the middle of the night? You have to have a lot of inside help to do that. And come to find out, that's exactly what had occurred. So when you have an overburdened military budget, you don't even know how much you're spending. You can do stupid stuff like that, but they can continue to do that kind of thing because they operate on a whole different nonsensical paradigm.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, Trump, no good Donald Trump is asking for a military budget of $1.5 trillion for 2027, exceeding, just almost doubling what they have right now. This is incredible. Why the infrastructure in this country fades. No one seems to even hear the clarion call of reparations for Black people. 310 years of free labor given to this no good country, and then you're going to turn around and ask its descendants to sign up for your military to go fight wars against other Black people and brown people and Muslims, and some of them do because the only reason why they do because they're apolitical and ignorant, unconscious. This is the only reason why they sign up for it. And so it is our job to bring as much consciousness to our youth, especially at the high school level, because that's when they're going to get it. I mean, you remember Art, Dr. White, when he comes back, he remembers Lance Scurv. You remember as soon as you graduated high school, who's knocking on your door? The military recruiters from all four phases. I remember mine. I was 17 years old, just sitting on my mother's couch. I was sitting on a football scholarship and all a few months away, but it was June. Just graduated, 17 years old, and there was a knock on the door on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. And I answered the door. And here's the guy dressed up, a brother. They sent to your door in full military regalia, and he was a recruiter. He said, "Can I come in?" Sure, come on in. Offered him some of my mother's world's famous iced tea with some, and brought him a glass. In 30 minutes, because of my political education, he left out that door, and the last thing he said was, "I'll never come back here again." Mashallah. All right. And that's me at 17. Why? Because there was a political education going on at that time that our masters were giving us. All right. The generation before us was giving us and counseling us against joining the white man's army. This is literally what they said to us. Right. So when he walked through that door, he got it. Right. So,
they tried to recruit me out of high school. So, Vietnam was still going on then. So,
and I know they came to Harlem to get Lance with all them muscles.
Yeah. But once again,
they wouldn't leave me alone. But I was the same way. They weren't going to get me. No way.
Yeah. Well, they tried to recruit me, said I had leadership skills, tried to tried to talk to my counselors and teachers and said, "Oh, he has leadership capabilities. He exhibits this. We're going to bring you in as an officer." Off the bat.
I want you to imagine this Negro in his army uniform sitting on my mama's couch drinking my mama's iced tea that she just made and went to work. Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
5 minutes into the conversation, I said, "But Malcolm said." Wait a minute.
Hey, I had already got expelled from high school for bringing a Black Panther newspaper on campus, and it was doing education among my peers, and they said that's inflammatory material, and they kicked me out of school. But that's.
I'm gonna tell you something. I didn't get kicked out of elementary school, but we had to go and pick one of our favorite songs to bring and recite to the class. And so you'll know what the song was when I tell you some of the words, because I spoke the whole words. They wouldn't let me finish the song. But one phrase was, "Though you were pregnant, black woman, you pulled the plow like a horse, like a dog, even a cow. He filled your womb with his wicked." They shut me up. They knew the song. Before I can say wicked seed.
You gotta. If we got a mute button right now, I'd push it.
Hey, Lance, you sure we can't get that song as our intro?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I got it.
That is scary.
I got it. I'll set it up for next week. Intro and outro. We'll have it set up.
Hey, Lance, put the album cover or something up on the screen, because I gotta tell you something. The first time I heard that song was a few years. Not even a few years, probably the next year or so. After that, Navy Army recruiter came to my door. I was like, man, what a night! That song is dope, bro. Yeah. That song, you probably want to call it your first rap song.
But we need to also emphasize to people listening that it was also an economic issue. The reason they're after us at high school level and they're trying to recruit so many of us at a tender age is also that, we're looking for jobs. We're looking to try to survive, what we're going to do in the culture. And it was just a pivotal decision at that point. So, and they still try to keep the wages low. They try to keep the levels, particularly of people of color, at such a level that, you're happy to even look at the military as a job option, as a way to survive and going forward. And that's it becomes not elective. It becomes something that's necessary for young people to do. So you can't leave that off the table. But I wanted to get back to Uganda and Nigeria and Sahel in Africa and what's happened there. Museveni is just supposedly won re-election, but what happens in African elections, particularly what happened in the election in Kenya, was that the U.S. spends mega dollars. Again, a lot of that military, underhanded State Department spending goes towards manipulating these elections and essentially coming in and trying to really weigh those elections, especially ones like the ones in Uganda, which were not even monitored by the International Election Commission. This was not an internationally monitored election, as a lot of them are, but you can bet that the U.S. wanted that outcome. They got the outcome that they wanted because they went in behind the scenes and did the groundwork to sway that election. And they do that time and time and again across Africa. And that's why so many African countries and young people in Africa are throwing out democracy along with those who are trying to bring it into the country. It's a dysfunctional system, and that's where we're headed. There we go.
Trouble, man.
We got the DJ in the house.
Hell, Minister Louis Farrakhan. You think Art? Let's step back in a little nostalgia. The music that you grew up with, Lance, the music that you grew up with, versus the music now. Even as you move through the early part of hip hop, messages and about struggle, messages about knowledge, the music, art, that you grew up with when you were a teenager. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. This was heavy stuff. This was the music that would form a generation and inform a generation. right?
Never before in the history of this country have more Black male voices been evident in the culture than during the period that you're talking about, from the late 50s through the 60s, 70s, because of our presence on stage through music. And, you're talking to somebody who's been a DJ or owned and operated radio stations and have been in that business for, most of my life. But that's where we projected and had the most male. I mean, just think about the number of how easy it was for a Black man to get to a microphone and speak to the whole nation.
Yeah.
Even if it was just through song. But go ahead, brother. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. I mean, that was it. I mean, I just wanted to kind of dialogue on that for a minute because I think it's important as we talk about raising the level of consciousness of our youth, particularly around teenagers. One of our masters in our path toward liberating our mind, raising our level of consciousness was the music that you were talking about, right? It was not only, that we ran into the right instructors during the Black Power movement, who were professors on the college campus, but it was also the music that couched us. And I thought it was very, very important. One song, The Temptations, The Ball of Confusion. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they were talking about revolution. So here I am, like a 10-year-old putting on The Ball of Confusion, man. And we're like, whoa, this is stuff. Where's The Ball of Confusion today at? We're looking up on the screen. A white man's heaven is a Black man's hell. And those of you who have never heard that song, you heard Lance uttering its lyrics, very powerful lyrics from start to finish, man. Matter of fact,
let me tell you, brother. Let me just interject real quick. I wouldn't go to bed from 3 years old. We had that original record, and I left it in New York by mistake when I moved to Florida. But I would not go to bed until I heard that song, and my mother and father had to play it for me on the old record player, and I would sit there staring at the record while it went around. And that's my bedtime story. I loved it. That's 3 years old. That's right.
I mean, you just uttering those words, man. I got hungry for a bean pie. I ain't gonna lie.
Why are we called Negro? Why are we so deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody else making progress and we seem to be lagging so far behind?
and Art, just to show you that this song, and I'm encouraging Lance to play this on the way out, if you can. Yeah. That this song, late 1950s, early 60s, whenever the minister cut it, you can listen to that song today. Not only is it still relevant, but it still sounds good.
Yeah. Well, what the industry did in the interim, I mean, they used to exploit Black talent. Black people, they go out in the farm and find some brother playing the guitar, and they bring a recorder in their trunk and that kind of stuff, and record the music and bring it back, and then they make race music. And I mean, from that time period all the way until where we are now, there's been some really definitive changes that have happened. And after exploiting us for so long, when Prince came along and said, "Hey, I want my masters, I want this, I want to control, my sound," and what happens from that time forward, we've seen they stepped away from the artists and have withdrawn into a kind of an overlay, a duplication, a replication of the sound, the soul. They're trying to commercialize that, and all you hear now is little junk sound. A lot of it's AI, a lot of it's just mimicked and done very poorly. But that's what I can't. You can't listen to it very much, but you can't have a good discussion about it among young people. Or we haven't had a good discussion about it among young people. So they need to understand the power of music.
Yeah,
what it does in the culture.
Former owner of radio stations, and as Lance brings up that song, I just did a search on Apple iTunes under White Man's Heaven is Black Man Hell. I can't find it, but you know what I can find? Minister Louis Farrakhan is also a high-level violinist. going all the way back to the 1950s. I mean, he used to appear on those variety shows. Anyway,
yeah.
They do have his violin concerto.
His calypso music might be out there.
His violin concerto on Mendelssohn is up there, but this song, it ain't up there.
All right. Well, we'll have to create a platform and put it up there.
That's right. Hey, Lance. We use this as our intro and our exit music from now on.
Yeah. But I was doing that on my YouTube channel before the one that was taken down. They didn't like it.
They took it down because of this song?
This song.
You know what? Put it back
Matter of fact, in the comments section of several of these songs that were put up, there's like 3 or 4 of them by 3 different people who uploaded it, right? In the comments section, they said, oh man, this is from the Lance Scurv show. It says it in there. Years ago.
And we're getting ready to resurrect that because this song is way too good. We're going to close this out. This is Muslim Street on behalf of Art Mobley and founder of one of the founding members of the National Association of Black Journalists. Also, Dr. Viper White, who is running for Congress in the state of Florida, in the Orlando district. If you're in that area, please support him. We had his Zelle up earlier, and also our producer out of Accra, Ghana, the Lance Scurv Show. Shout out to Lance, and shout out to Minnesota's Farrakhan and a white man's heaven. Show in the hell is a black man's hell. Okay, stop it.
That's right. Let it roll.
Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition, stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion? Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die. But all of the years that we're living, for us there's nothing but hell, pain, torture, and misgiving. Yet the Bible speaks of a heaven filled with material luxury, which the white man and the preacher has right here, so we see. So, my friend, take it for what it's worth. Your heaven and your hell is right here on this earth. So let's check back into history, which rewards all research and tells us plainly that before the white man gained entry to the East, he was living in the caves of Europe, a ravenous beast, eating juniper roots and eating flesh raw, till God sent Moses to civilize him and teach him the law. Then, following Marco Polo, an explorer, he gained entry into Asia and Africa. From China, he took silk and gunpowder. From India, he took jute, manganese, and rubber. He raped Africa of her diamonds and her gold. From the Mideast, he took barrels of oil untold, raping, robbing, and murdering everything in his path. The whole black world has tasted of the white man's wrath. So, my friend, it's not hard to tell. A white man's heaven is a black man's hell. Before we came to America, we were in the east, by the Nile River, we were living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people, I'm told. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So, my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is black man hell. When the white man came to America, he told the Indian, I am your white brother. He said, red man, I'll treat you the best. Yet and still he pushed the Indian further west with his white woman and firewater. Tricks and lies, he stole America. The original owner of this nation is cooped up on a reservation. So, my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven, black man hell. He needed someone to work the land. His back was too weak. He needed you, black man, so he commissioned Sir John Hawkins to commit the world's most grievous sin, to take a man who's born to be free and bring him down to slavery, to sell a man as merchandise, on his body put a price. Oh, my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is a black man hell.